Welcome to the season finale of Full Brew. This is our final episode for 2018. I'm Mike Brewer.
And I'm Patrick Fulcher.
And we are here with a live audience today. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to have everybody here today, Mike.
Absolutely. And Patrick, it has been a fun-filled year for sure.
It really has been. And if you think back, it's been 12 months since we started this project. And Mike, what a lot of changes have happened in that 12-month period.
That's exactly right. I remember back, first episode, we're sitting in the small Tennessee conference room in our office.
With a little tiny webcam.
That's right. 6 laptops lined up.
14 different people in there doing something.
It's very hot.
Very hot.
I remember. Very small space.
Very small space.
But we've come a long way.
We have, and it's exciting because I think by changing our scenery and the equipment that we use and the quality of video that we shoot, it just produces a better program. And really this show, Mike, is all about what? It's all about
our team members.
Our team members.
That is right. Edifying our team members and the accomplishments.
I'm so glad that we have a lot of our team members here today. We're going to be talking about some of them, and that's exciting. And we also have a very special guest.
We do. Surprise.
I know.
Could I say one thing? I do want to give a shout out to V-Link, the company that actually helps us produce this now. Now, that's not to take away from Christy and Jessica and all the work and effort you put in first few episodes, but V-Link has been a wonderful partner in pulling this off. So.
They have. We could not have done this without them.
No.
They make us look really good.
They do.
And they love to show all of my mistakes at the end of them.
Absolutely.
Broadcast, which is fun. And how many times I say absolutely, right?
For sure.
For sure. Well, one person that I want to recognize, on the theme of recognition, Mike, one person that I want to recognize is Lee Schaefer. And Lee could not be with us here today. She's in Atlanta, but she is in a meeting. And Lee has been relentless, Mike, in her posting and support of Full Brew. She's always taking pictures of either her or teams watching the program. So Lee, we want to say thank you so much for your support of this program. And you are our #1 fan.
Yes, she's a social media master.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, it's been quite a year. There's been so much, when we started thinking and planning this program, I wasn't sure exactly what we're going to talk about because as I went back and watched all of the tapes, there's so much that we can recap on. But hopefully we're going to hit a lot of those really big moments this week. And so let's start talking about some of those things that have happened at Radco and Radco Residential this year.
Yes, Patrick, that is true. We did do a lot of very ambitious things in the year of 2018, and one of those ambitious things that we pulled off was the LEAD program, and I am very delighted to have some LEAD participants here along with the LEAD leader of the program to talk about that. So, Laura, why don't you tell us a little bit about LEAD and the impact that it's having in the organization?
So for most of you sitting out there, you know what LEAD is. You've seen some of the communications or met with me personally or are involved in the program. It is our management trainee program, and it's designed to elevate not only new people that are new to the industry, green, aren't as familiar with it as we are, as well as our existing talent, with the goal that in 18 months, anyone who's been through the program has all the business skills to go successfully manage a multi-million-dollar asset.
That makes total sense. And I would tell you, it's interesting to me. One of the things I really love about LEAD is that I think, I'll speak from my own autobiography, I fell into this business, as a lot of us do, right? I worked in the single-family home business for a long time, and then one day I found myself in property management as a function of single-family homes, right? I was managing the homes I was trying to sell, and then the rest is history. So there's never really been a formal way to introduce college graduates into the industry, and I think this is a good program for that. So Talia, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your experience as a participant in the LEAD program and what it's meant to you and the impact that you've felt from it?
So far over the last 11 months, I have learned a tremendous amount of information about property management. I've also learned about myself, just growing through the program and going through the good, the bad, and I love it so far.
What do you think in terms of, let's talk about the bad, not to emphasize that, but let's maybe frame that as hey, here was a potentially bad situation that yielded a wonderful outcome because we were able to learn from that bad experience?
So a challenge that I have faced is pretty much being hard on myself. I think that we are all our biggest critics, and so if I did not understand something, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not ever going to get this. But through talking with Laura and just going through the process, I see now that everything is learnable with practice.
Absolutely. Tell me about your most rewarding moment as a participant.
My most rewarding moment would have to be doing the Monday morning reports.
Thank you.
No one ever.
Without any
You're the one.
guidance, or so just being able to do it straight through and learn it from nothing to now I can do it like that.
You have supreme confidence in your
Yes.
ability. That's
Yes.
awesome. That's awesome. Wesley, why don't you talk to us about maybe a potentially learning moment or a challenge, as you put it, I like that. That's a much better word. A challenge moment that you yielded some knowledge from on the backside.
I think in general, there's just so many moving parts with the multifamily industry that just, I guess, like not feeling like I'll be able to keep up, but actually figuring out that it's not that difficult or it's not as hard as I thought that it would be. It is challenging, but I just put a lot of pressure on myself to kind of, make things happen. And as we've learned more throughout the program, it just flowed along. I'm impressed. with
Makes
myself.
sense. Yeah, I think many times we get ourselves in situations where it feels like we're drinking from a water hose or a fire hose, rather,
Right.
in those beginning moments. But as you learn more, it seems like it trickles down to maybe a little bit of a water hose as opposed to a fire hose. Talk about your most rewarding moment as a participant in the LEAD program.
I would say my most rewarding moment would be, I guess, like now looking back at where I was like January, February, March, and just seeing the growth, not only within work, but my personal growth, like Talia mentioned. I've learned a lot about myself throughout the time, patience, dealing with other people, teamwork, just a lot of stuff that I knew about previously, but I never really put it into conscious thought until now. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I appreciate the most.
It's interesting. It brings to mind as you sort of set through college class setting, right, or in a setting like this where you're learning. It's far different than being on site where you have all the sort of anomalies that come in, right? And it's those reps that really teach you about the business, not so much. I mean, classroom teaches you a lot, but it's getting the reps and actually doing the work that gets you really prepped for it. So really appreciate that. I think one of the other things I think is neat about the LEAD program is that you've opened it up to our current team member base and allowed them to participate in some of the curriculum that you've put together for the program.
Correct. And those actually have been some of my favorite classroom moments because the LEAD team not only gets exposure to more of their peers and their teammates, but no one leaves that class without learning something, myself included. It's just been really rewarding to open that up and to get the additional exposure.
Talk to me about one last thing and we'll wrap up here. I saw that you had introduced leadership development into your curriculum, but you've not done that with what I'd call traditional curriculum. You've picked some books. I'm interested in knowing why you chose those titles and how you've had 2 or 3.
We're working through book 1 right now. So instead of doing a traditional leadership class, we actually are looking more at principle-based leadership. And we started way back at essentially the beginning of written communication about leadership with Marcus Aurelius Meditations. So from there, we're able to understand how he approached leadership and what his principles were, which gives us the foundation to work through creating our own leadership principles and kind of, I think the word is kind of your own personal brand statement of the kind of leader that you're going to be.
And how have that's been a rewarding experience for you to walk through a piece of very ancient literature and trying to make that applicable to present day leadership? We'll start with you.
Yes, so going through the book, it teaches you to approach things logically and not rationally, and I think that comes in handy, especially being on site with a lot of the things that we face. You have to take a step back and think before you react. So I like that about the book.
Very true statement. What would you add?
I think my biggest takeaway from the Marcus Aurelius, what we're reading currently, is just not letting outside factors or negative things impact your daily life, whether it may be sickness or you're having a bad day, regardless of what it is. Just picking up the pieces and being as positive as you can be. And that's my biggest takeaway.
Fantastic. Well, I want to applaud the two of you, and I know you have other team members that are going through the LEAD experience. Applaud you for coming here today and sitting in front of the camera, because I know this is not the most easy thing to do in the world, right? So I applaud you for that. I appreciate you going through the LEAD program, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do in the future. And then, Laura, thank you so much for putting the program together, actually administering it, and making it impactful for Radco.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Wow, Mike, that is so impressive, and I am so excited to see how the Radco LEAD participants thrive here at Radco. And I can't wait to talk to the two individuals that we have with us today. We're going to be talking about community, and community is one of the pillars of Radco, and it is part of our mission statement, is influencing the community around us. And today I have with me Leslie Thaxton and Amber Dawson. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thank you guys for being with us today. The reason I wanted you guys to come today is to talk about something that happened almost a year ago at our Align Leadership Conference in March of last year. We had a community activity where we assembled bikes for a charity. And it's so funny, and I believe I saw Daphne Pruitt sneak in. Daphne's here too. Let's give Daphne a hand. Daphne really took the vision that I had for that program and made it become a reality. And we were so privileged to partner with a charity called Feed My Lambs. And the organization was able to take those bikes that we had a fun time putting them together, but they were able to take those bikes and actually distribute them to kids all across the United States. But the really cool part about this is that you guys continued that relationship with Feed My Lambs even after the Align conference. So I want you guys to kind of talk about, Leslie, maybe you can share a little bit about why you felt so passionate about continuing that relationship with Feed My Lambs and kind of what they do. Can you kind of tell the audience a little bit more about that?
Sure. So after the conference, we felt this really special connection and really felt the need to get out there and do more for this company. It's a nonprofit company that started in 1990. They have over 20 schools, and not just here in Atlanta, but in out of the country as well. And we formed a relationship, my portfolio and myself, with Elizabeth, who's the owner. And we started some on-site resident participation in gathering together school supplies and being able to deliver them and give them back to the schools because they don't have anything. It's a nonprofit, and they really depend on donations and the community to help them.
That's awesome. Well, Leslie, I can't imagine how that makes you feel at the end of the day. You know, one of our core values at Radco, and the one that I think is probably the most popular whenever we ask the question, which core value resonates with you the most, it's always caring. And I can imagine that gave you a real sense of fulfillment and giving back to the community at large. And Norman always says, and he talks about that, he wants Radco to not just the four walls of our community, but reach beyond to the greater community. It's such a great way of doing that. So, Amber, you were part of that program and part of the partnership with Feed My Lambs. Can you talk a little bit about what you experienced, what you guys experienced, and how that made you feel?
Well, when we went to Feed My Lambs, Miss Elizabeth spoke very highly of her students and all the teachers that she has, and they're all volunteers teachers that are there. She definitely gave me a tearjerker when I was there, so it definitely touched my heart in a way that I never thought it would. So just being able to experience that with her and being able to give that back to the community was a really big, emotional portion of that day, and definitely carried on with me going forward.
That's amazing. Well, Guys, I am excited to let you know, and I'm going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag now. We are going to have another online conference in March of this year. We're going to actually be, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be bigger and better than last year, and we're going to be also inviting all of our leaders from the Radco companies to come to that 3-day event as well. It's going to be March 27th, 28th, and 29th. Here in Atlanta, so everybody that's a maintenance supervisor and above at the property level will be able to come in. And one thing that we did, some feedback is a gift, as Jessica Gordon always tells us. One thing that we heard is some people wanted to stay over the weekend in Atlanta because we had it on where you left on like a Wednesday. So we're doing a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you want to stay over in Atlanta for the weekend, you can do that. So that's some feedback that we heard on the survey from last year. But what I really want to say is we're going to do another event, a community event similar to the one that we did last year. So that allows us to continue that giving back, and that is such an important part of Radco and what we're about and what we're trying to do at this company. So I just want to thank you ladies for being with us today and being able to share your story of how the thing that we did at the conference was so powerful to you, but then you felt so impressed by that you continued it on. So thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely.
So Patrick, I cannot wait to hear more about the Align conference. That's very exciting. And I have to say, you set the bar pretty high last year. To see that it's going to be bigger and better this year, I cannot wait. That'll be fantastic. So a big part of our team member experience at Radco is empowering our team members, okay? And this being the year of the customer, it's very important to have empowerment, right? Meaning that you can make a decision in the moment for the customer, okay? And so I think one of the ways that we've been able to sort of instill the tools that are necessary for that empowerment in our team members is through the Safety Ambassador Program and the Amplify Ambassador Program. And so I'm very thrilled to be joined by a couple of Amplify and Safety Ambassadors today, or I guess one of each. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your experience in that particular role. So Roberto, maybe we start with you and talk to me a little bit about what it's meant for you to actually facilitate that particular program and the impact you've seen from it. Because I think that part of building leadership is putting yourself in moments like this, right? Sitting on this stage, I have to believe that it's a little bit nerve-wracking, right? But I also have to believe it's a little bit nerve-wracking to stand on site in front of your peer group, right? And discuss, even if the curriculum is prepared for you ahead of time, it's still a little bit nerve-wracking, right? So talk to me about that experience for you personally, but what it's meant for the team member as well.
Okay. First of all, fortunately, Christy has been really good with me because she always sends me the material ahead of time. So that gives me time to practice at home, and all the stuff. So still get nervous, but the part of me doing this bilingual is very important because I know my coworkers. Some of my coworkers after the class, they used to ask me, what did they talk about it? What the class was about after they've been in the class for 2 hours. So that's why I start doing it, because doing it bilingual, they can understand. So I'm sure that they're back there and they understand everything instead of asking me after 2 hours being in the class. So,
I like that.
So that was really very rewarding for me.
Excellent. All right. So it's rewarded you in the sense that you could actually communicate it in both languages, but then you also know that they're going to walk away and be able to apply
Yes,
that
yes,
knowledge.
sir.
That is
Yeah.
fantastic. Alexander, talk to us about your experience.
When I was first approached to be an Amplify Ambassador, I was pretty taken away. But it's very exciting. I really like it, and to see the feedback from all of the other employees is amazing. I've been able to work on one site, Ashford 75, and then I also helped another Amplify Ambassador at Ashford Jackson Creek, I'm sorry.
That's a mouthful,
And
don't worry.
AJC. So it was great, and just to see the feedback from all the employees, it's the same feedback as far as everyone comes together to learn. And I think it's great that Radco as a whole, all the employees look to learn and move forward. And it's actually kind of uplifting to me because every time I see someone willing to learn, it makes me think about what my mom instilled in me and what my grandmother instilled in her, which is you learn something every day. You're never too old to learn, and you're never too experienced in your industry to learn. And the day that you stop learning is the day you stop existing. So just to see everyone really take in and learn, it really kind of lifts me up and enlightens me. So I love being a part of the program.
Wow, you had a great mom and a great grandma for certain. Those are
Those
great
are my
values. Absolutely. Well, talk to me. I know that the Amplify Ambassador and Safety Ambassador program were sort of divided into 4 sections, right? And each were predicated on our values, right? The caring, fearless, flexible, and successful. So I'm wondering, what is most pronounced in your mind in terms of our values?
Caring.
Caring, and tell me why.
I just recently stepped into a new position, and a resident actually gave positive feedback. And the resident stated how they just realized that, not to brag on myself, but it's something that I like to show as an example, that I was very caring. I've only been there for such a short period of time, but just the amount of caring that I gave, they know that it's going to be a good fit. And that was just very warming to me, because what I like to express the most was actually seen at the forefront.
That makes total sense. And by the way, I read that letter. It was very ripping. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you edified it immensely. So what about you, Roberto?
Well, I would say the same thing, caring, because before, when you don't know all these safety reasons to take care of our residents, some people don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you learn all this, then you start caring and doing more for the community. And the best thing is do it as a team, and take care of our residents. So perfectly, these classes are amazing for everybody.
That's fantastic. Isn't it interesting that I think we all innately know what it means to care, right? But how do you demonstrate care in the multifamily space, right? And then, so I imagine hearing stories from you on how to care, actually how to extend care in the multifamily space is important to our team members, right?
Very, very.
Yeah.
Especially, we had a class about pool safety. And you don't have to be certified to care your pool and with residents. So if you know more about these things, anybody from our team, can save somebody's life.
Yeah.
Just knowing about the classes and all that stuff. So it's very important for everybody.
Absolutely. So, well, I really appreciate you having the courage to get up here. Likewise, I really appreciate Christy for facilitating the program, and Jessica for the vision, Patrick for the vision of Amplify and Safety, and certainly Steve on the Safety Ambassador side, because I think this is a program that has really sort of imbued our values on the minds of our team members and allowed the expression of those things out in our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
One final note with the Safety Ambassador Program and the Amplify Ambassador Program is that, as I understand it, and maybe we can applaud for this, is that in the month of October, we had 100% participation in both programs, which is an unheard of number in this industry. So give it a big clap. And I hear maybe that we might get 100% again in November. We'll know in December, right? Might get another 100% in November. So again, thank you very much.
And Mike, this year was the year of the customer, right? And it seems like so long ago that we started that, but I think one of the goals, that, as I remember, that we were working toward is to achieve at least a minimum of 70% on our Kingsley Index score. And although we haven't quite gotten there yet, we are well on our way to achieving that goal. So I wanted to invite someone to today's recap to kind of talk about the progress that we've made and what we've done. So I have Sarah Allward. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here with us today. And talk to us a little bit. You've been on the Kingsley Task Force. I kind of led that with that charge, other than when you were out having your brand new baby. which we're so happy you're back.
Thank you.
But talk to us a little bit about what you and the team have kind of worked on the Kings League Task Force this year to kind of help continue to elevate that score as far as customer service goes.
Sure. So the Kings League Task Force is made up of about 12 team members across all levels of the organization. We actually have several members here in the audience today, so thank you all for your efforts. But basically, each team member is assigned about 4 to 5 properties, and they hold their partner that they partner with. They hold monthly calls with those properties to go over their survey results. One thing that they do is celebrate the successes. So, I mean, it's really easy. I think we all know, and even in our personal lives, like if you get one negative comment, it kind of outweighs. You could have all the positive feedback in the world.
right.
So we
One
want to
bad.
right. But we want to focus
Right.
on what the teams are doing well because we want to continue those behaviors. But they do also help identify some areas for improvement, and it sometimes helps to have that outsider perspective,
Sure.
and help identify some trends on certain areas of the survey which we might could use some improvement. They can help brainstorm ideas to help maybe it's follow up on maintenance requests, or maybe it's helping residents feel more engaged with their resident events.
Sure.
So really just kind of helping to brainstorm solutions from an outside perspective and just help be another resource to help focus on those scores.
Got it. So Sarah, for some of us that may or may not know, because there's a wide audience watching this today, when are residents able to express their opinion? How exactly does that happen?
So the surveys are automatically triggered based on certain events during the resident life cycle. We, at RADCO, we use 4 of the survey types, starting with a prospect experience. So the day a person tours a community, they actually get a survey asking about their experience leasing the community, how their experience was driving up to the community. Did it look presentable? Was it welcoming? How was the leasing experience for you? They also get a survey about 30 days after they move in to see how their move-in experience went, all aspects of moving in, from completing their paperwork to their move-in inspection, all those sorts of activities. They also get a survey after a service request has been completed. So asking if the service request was completed to their satisfaction, if it was followed up on with a vendor, if that was communicated to them. And then they also get a survey, what we call a pre-renewal survey, so about 120 days before their lease expires. So that's very strategic, so it's before their renewal letter actually goes out. So if the resident indicates that they're not likely to renew, we have a chance to kind of right that ship before they actually get their renewal letter and hopefully change their minds.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, fantastic. So we have a lot of opportunity to still improve, right? And we could really 100% should probably be our goal.
Patrick,
right?
come on.
Well,
shoot for the stars.
Shoot for the stars.
That's right. Shoot for the moon if you
should
miss
be
your land.
100%,
Yep.
but we are making positive movement
sure are.
toward that 70%. And I want to thank you, and I know that several members of your team are here for always constantly reminding us how important that is, because you only have one chance sometimes, right? We only have one chance to either make or break a situation. I call it a moment of truth, right? When something happens, we have the opportunity to say, I have the opportunity to make this thing go really well, or I have this opportunity for this thing not to go so well. So every time one of those opportunities presents itself, we have that choice. And so thank you for helping us keep that forefront. And making sure that we're on top of those reviews, and making sure that we're responding to our residents in a timely manner, and we'll continue that efforts in 2019 to increase our Kingsley survey scores. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Patrick and Sarah, for talking about Kingsley and how we're going to get those scores to 100%. I like that goal a lot. And one of the other ways that we've talked about increasing that customer experience at RADCO is by installing some, let's call it a technology on the service side of our business that might amp up that experience a little bit. So today we have Justin and Steve here to talk about that. Justin more specifically about mobile maintenance, and then we'll get to Steve in just a second about another thing. But wanted to talk about what mobile maintenance is, what the experience was like in terms of rolling it out to our team members, how they received it, and then some of the impact that you've seen so far. If you can remember all 3 of those questions.
I think I can.
Awesome.
I think I can. So, Yardi Mobile Maintenance is an outstanding application, which I was skeptical about initially just because it's technology, but I've got some guys in the room too that everybody welcomed that. which is great. There was no kickbacks. Everybody accepted the fact this makes our jobs a whole lot easier when it comes to work orders and service requests. So it streamlines everything without having a piece of paper printed out, losing paper. Our time management, which Steve and I try to preach about, time management gets things done efficiently and better. So now these guys, and we're saving trees too, of course, Mike, so saving trees.
I know some people like to save trees.
Yeah, it rolls all into one now, and it can be done on their cell phones, mobile device of any sort, where it is linked with Yardi. So it is like a time clock where instead of trying to track down work orders and go, each maintenance person, whether it's a supervisor, a technician, or even a groundskeeper per se, can go be assigned something specifically, take their device and go.
Okay.
Clock
Okay.
in basically, say, hey, I'm here Department A1, I'm clocking in to work, do what I need to do, and then finish it all right there. No losing the work order. It also sends another immediate survey for our Kingsley,
Sure,
all
sure.
integrated into one.
Wow, so what I hear you saying is where we used to have a stack of paper and the maintenance
Okay.
supervisor every morning would kind of shuffle through thinking about his guys and their strengths, put them into separate piles and hand them out, and then maybe or maybe not, they make it to the unit, right?
Right,
So
right.
where today it's just right there on your device,
Absolutely.
neatly organized, checking in, checking out.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It is.
Well, talk to me about what you think the impact of that program has been from a customer's experience. This was the year of the customer. How do you think that's benefited the customer? I know we've only had it out in the field 30 to 45 days?
Roughly.
Maybe 60 days?
We started some, yeah.
60 days plus or minus. Have you seen any impact on the customer side, or maybe even if it's just anecdotal in nature, what you think the impact of that program is going to be for the customer?
Even though they might not think about it and they don't understand how we operate, it has benefited them because it's sped up a lot of service request times. But same problem with losing work orders, they have noticed, hey, they put it in now and it's been addressed immediately.
Sure.
So, and then also we still, of course, leave us some kind of notification, even though the paper work order's not there.
Right.
We can leave them something on their door and then they get the digital copy of the follow-up as well. So, and I think nowadays, because we have web work orders people can put in, they don't have to call the offices. They can put in a web work order. It goes directly to the device of each property.
Oh, wow.
So yet
That's
again,
really
it's a direct kind of line for everybody to go. So we've had great positive feedback from residents even saying, hey, I noticed I'm not getting paper work order, but my work order got done within 24 hours and didn't even know what happened basically. So
Oh, that's fantastic.
it worked out great that way.
That's fantastic. I love to see, I really believe that technology is going to make its way into our industry. I mean, it's been coming, it's now here, and we'll probably see some other things come in the next 18 to 24 months. But to the extent that it makes our team members' experience much more efficient in nature,
Absolutely.
but it ultimately impacts the consumer in a positive way, I think those two things are very good things for our industry.
Absolutely.
And for our business specifically. So I really appreciate that. I want to turn to Steve now, and I want to talk about another program that we'll be rolling out. I think it starts today. Well,
The 6th.
it started last week at this time.
Yeah, we just rolled out training and we're ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. So, well, tell us a little bit of, it's Marketplace, right?
Marketplace.
Yardi Marketplace. So why don't you sort of set the stage for what Yardi Marketplace actually is and how it will benefit our team members?
Sure.
And maybe ultimately the customer.
Yeah, so like Yardi Marketplace is really kind of that next step from mobile maintenance. This is really going to streamline our purchasing that we do, whether it's the service supervisors or the property managers doing this. It really allows us to kind of streamline the process, puts everything in the correct GL code that it should be in.
wow.
It calculates the tax that it should be. I mean, it streamlines the vendors that we're going to use. It's fascinating. I mean, it really is great. The teams are going to be able to really kind of dial in their spending trend by creating these catalogs that only include the things that they're going to purchase, right? So gone are the days of looking through a 700-page HD supply catalog. Now they can take that electronic catalog and really hone into, these are the things that we're going to order. These are only the things that I want to see. And it helps us from a management standpoint too to kind of control that spending. We can make sure that we're getting the best prices and we're only including those best prices and best practices into Yardi Marketplace.
So what comes to mind for me is it's sort of this consumer behavior trend that started a long time ago with Amazon.
Yeah.
We go on to Amazon.com anymore to order anything and everything that we get into our lives, right? I can see all these boxes showing up at my house this afternoon, but but it's sort of the Amazon catalog of the service side of our business that we can go on, and we have a very select group of things that we can actually pick and choose from, or maybe even subscribe to on an ongoing basis, right? If it's something that we use frequently.
Right.
And then it's just set it sort of and almost forget it unless there's sort of a unique part that we need from time to time. Is that fair to say?
Oh, it is. I mean, and literally they can dial it into different groupings, right? Like, what is a 1-by-1 unit going to take to turn that unit, right? You can put all the material in there, and you can catalog that as, for your order list. Well, it's going to be a 1-by-1, and then it could pre-populate all the things that you're going to order, from your carpet to your vendors. Now we're starting out small. There's going to be a few vendors in there to use, but as we move forward and progress with the program, the properties are going to be able to bring in their local vendors, like their cleaning service. Everything that you would create a PO for is going to be in there to track it. And then the tracking is fantastic as well, because it allows us to really run analytics, since it's all driven through Yardi. We can look at the purchase history and what have we been purchasing most often. It really is going to allow us to look at, maybe we decide 6 months down the line that, through HD Supply we're buying, block sets. We're buying, 5,000 of these things. So maybe we can organize a group purchase that we do going forward. So it's really going to revolutionize the way that we purchase, and help us to really streamline and control our purchasing.
That makes sense to me. And I know for all of our accounting team members out there that are watching,
Oh,
they
they're
heard
gonna
that
love it.
GL code exactly right. I know you love that, right?
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Well, talk to us about sort of briefly the timeline. Is that a full roll to the entire portfolio, or is that something that's going to be phased out over?
Full rollout.
Full roll, I love it.
Happening this week. So we will be, in fact, the 6th, which is tomorrow. Or Thursday.
No,
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, sorry.
Excellent.
But so we're right there on the cusp of rolling this out. So it's great.
Excellent. So Steve, I know that you have sort of developed this really neat sort of hand gesture that you sort of end everything with, and I'm wondering if you can just throw one out there for us. Please.
Safety matters.
Nice, right? Thanks, guys.
All right, well, welcome back, everybody. And one of the most popular guests that we had on Full Brew this season was our own most admired CEO, Norman Reno, who happens to be with us here today. Welcome, Norman. So
The canned laughter is getting so much better.
I know,
just gotta,
really is. The
really is.
studio audience
Yes.
that we have here. It's actually real today. And so, Norman, last week we had the privilege of being together in Phoenix, Arizona at the Multifamily Leadership Conference. And as part of that conference, we were part of a program of the best places to work in multifamily. And Radco was awarded the number 7 spot, nationally ranked, number 7 among 400 other companies in this business, and that was a very proud moment for us, and it speaks well of the company and all the hard work that our team members do every day. So as you think about 2018 is coming to a close, what are some of those things that jump out at you as some of the great accomplishments the company has made this year?
Well, one of the things I mentioned to Patrick a few minutes ago was that I had a call the next day with one of our competitors about business, and they came in about 12 positions behind us, and I congratulated him on his 19th 19th place, and he then poo-pooed it, and I said, hey, it's top 20, that's important, and he heard that we had won, and I said, well, we're all winners, so I was really. I just try to compliment people when it's deserved. So really, that's how much it just made me happy that I was able to just have a little fun with our competitors. That goes that kind of a special place. We've received and we earned, frankly, many prestigious awards this year. Probably the least that was earned is most admired CEO, because I'm only admired because of your success, of the success of everyone in the company, and it makes me proud. Now I can go and list hundreds of things that I'm proud of. One of the things, one of our real initiatives that blew up the minds of a panel I served on a multifamily conference the week before was our LEAD program. That how we're training the next generation of managers and making them true professional managers, not managers who happen to be good and they fell into the job and learned on the fly, And by the way, that's what makes our managers today so special, that they did it themselves, but now we're creating really like an MBA program for our future leaders of our industry, which is really incredible. And it's a big investment on our part financially and on the human resources of this company. And so many people are participating to create even a greater company later. So that's just something that's really unique in the whole industry. But I'll tell you the one thing that really warms my heart and excites me every single day, and I only wish my father were here to hear me say this and see it in action, because he really imbued me with the idea that every member of our team should be treated with great respect and dignity and be given a purpose. And we at Radco are really doing something profound for our society. And you've heard me talk about it many times. But the Atlanta Constitution, our local newspaper, headlined a story about this today. The front page. Did anyone see it here? No one reads the paper. It wasn't online, so of course you didn't see it.
Of course not.
But it was a headline about the workforce in the city having difficulty paying rent. That rents have keep going up, and everything we're building today is for people who make $180,000 or $100,000 a year, but nothing has been built for a decade for those making $40,000 to $50,000 a year. And that's basically our tenant. And it just made me feel good hearing all our competitors saying, well, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this, but we do it. We don't got to do it, we're doing it. We're creating a safe, clean environment for the children of our residents and for all the families that live with us, and for a rent that they can afford, and for a home they can be proud of. That is really remarkable. And if you don't think we're really changing society by doing that, you haven't lived the way I lived growing up and know how not doing that can affect a child's life. So I like to say this, and this was what makes me most proud, that when you go home at night and your spouse or your children ask you, what did you do at work today? You can look up and smile and say, today I did some good. And that's what makes me most proud of Radco. And that's what drives me every day to get up and work with everyone in this room and in the television audience. That's my proudest accomplishment.
Thank you. And you've said many times, or I've heard you say, that you can't be in this business and not care. You have to care, and it's one of our core values.
A lot of people try not to do that. Yeah.
A lot of people do, and they fail. But I think that's the one thing that we do really well here is we have a really big heart. And you can't be in this business and not care, because we're dealing with human beings, right? There's nothing more personal. Mike and I have talked about it many times. There's nothing more personal than giving someone a home. And think about all the life events that occur inside that box that we call an apartment, right? There's people that get married, there's people that divorce, there's people that have families, start families, and you've said many times, Norman, we have real people who live in our apartment communities and who have real problems, and it's up to us to have to manage that sometimes. And sometimes it's not really easy, right, Mike? I mean, you've talked about this. Sometimes it's really hard.
That's right.
And life can throw us some curveballs sometimes when someone comes in and says, I can't pay the rent this month. What do? What's the answer to that, right? These are real problems that people have. So, Norman, thank you so much for being with us today and always being that guy. I always say there's no one that loves Radco more than you. And you're our biggest fan, and that's important. So, Mike, any closing words before we leave today?
No, I very much thank you for providing us with an environment every day where we can actually come and thrive. I think, I know Patrick just said he's maybe a week away from being 2 years in the organization, and a little over 2 years.
I get that 401k money. I'm so excited. The other half of my 401k, yay.
Well, there's always time.
There's always a month left, right?
But it's such a testament to who you are as a person first and foremost, and as a business person second, that you provide us with the environment to personally thrive and professionally thrive on a daily basis. So thank you for that.
Well, that energy comes right back at me, so I thank you.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Wow, thank you so much, everybody, for your contributions, not only today, but throughout the year of 2018. I think we've accomplished so much as a team, and it's just been thrilling to be a part of that. So thank you very much for that. As we bring Full Brew to a close, our last episode of the year.
Oh, I know. This has been, I just want to say on a personal note, Mike, this has been really fun.
Right.
We get to, and the fun part about it is we get to talk about our people.
That's right.
And that's really what Radco is all about, is all of these great people. And this is just a sampling of our 550
That's right.
Radco team members across the Radco nation. We have millions of viewers. Right?
And Yammer followers.
And Yammer followers. Yeah, Mike even said that at a conference this week, which I was like sitting there just giggling. Right? He even said we have millions of followers on our Yammer feed, which was funny. I don't think anybody caught it.
No, they really didn't do it.
But,
That joke fell flat.
Yeah. So one of the things I did want to talk about, Mike, before we close, is you and I had the privilege last week of being out in Phoenix, Arizona, at the Multifamily Leadership Summit.
That's right.
And part of that conference is that there is a program every year that ranks all of the companies who want to apply as a best place to work in the multifamily industry.
That's right.
And so we were very honored to have been ranked number 7 out of over 400 different companies in the United States. Radco ranked number 7, and I just can't. What a moment that was when I was a nervous wreck. They started out, they had the top 35 there, and they started with 35, and we kept working our way up, and we were number 7, and it was an incredible moment. Norman was there, and Janet and Travis were also there, and it was just, it was great to know that people now, the industry, is recognizing Radco for what we're doing.
That's right. We had the likes of Bizzuto there and Camden there, and to be...
I call them the big boys.
The big boys, yeah.
Right?
And the idea that we're just roughly 3 years old. I know the Radco companies has existed for much longer, but Radco Residential as an organization has existed for just 3 years. So to think that we have come this far in 3 years to the point where we could be ranked number 7 in the country is pretty special, especially next to the big boys.
Exactly. And companies that manage hundreds of thousands of units.
That's right.
And
That's
have
right.
way more employees than we do, but it's all because of the hard work of our team members. And so, Mike, I think this is when you and I envisioned this program, we said we want this to be a spotlight for those team members that work for us, and I feel like we've achieved that goal this year.
I do too.
And it's fun as I'm going back and looking at I went back and watched all of the episodes over the last couple of weeks. And we have had so many great customer service stories. We have had, one of my favorite stories was there, and I shouldn't laugh about this story because it was a terrible situation where an apartment caught on fire.
Oh.
And I had a little stuffed cat, and it was, or dog, right, Christy? It was a stuffed dog. And so one of our team members was actually able to help save that dog from a burning apartment, right?
That's right.
I mean,
That's
those
great.
are and people, I don't know, I'm a pet lover. I don't have any pets today, but I've had pets all my life, and your pets are like your children,
Oh, they
right?
are. They
So
most definitely are.
From saving dogs from a burning apartment to all kinds of other great stories that are
The mayor, that was another fantastic
These
story.
have become legendary stories, not just the mayor and all of these things. It's just great, and I was reading back through the Yammer feed, and I actually downloaded every picture that has been posted on Yammer, and it's taken me 3 weeks to do it. I've had to use about 5 flash drives to get all of the pictures off of Yammer because we're going to do something special with those. But it just, I couldn't be prouder to work for this company. I've worked for way bigger companies.
Yeah.
But as Norman says about you and I, we were Radco's souls lost trying to find
out
our
in the
home,
world.
right? And we finally found it. So I just want to say, let's raise our mugs to all those great team members that are out there, Mike, and congratulations to a successful 2018 and to an even more successful 2019.